My name's Hannah Awonuga. I'm an award-winning diversity, equity and inclusion senior professional within financial services. I'm also the founder of Rarity London Inclusion and Development Services, where I use my voice to speak on topics such as gender equality, race in the workplace, socioeconomic inclusion, and what it's like to be multi-generational in the corporate world.
So Hannah, I first came across you probably about 2-3 years ago, and it was a post that talked about your business, Rarity London. So if we start from there, tell us what that brand, that business is about.
So Rarity London was founded in 2017, and it started actually as a corporate wear fashion label. I've always worked in the corporate world. I've been in banking for 17 years. And as I progressed in my career, I found it hard to find fashionable corporate pieces that really spoke to my style, but also acceptable in the corporate world. So I started there drawing, designing, and the business really evolved quite quickly. So as I released my first pieces, people were coming to me and saying, "Oh, like these are really beautiful, but I'd love to hear more about your career. I'd love to hear more about how you developed in your career. I'm struggling in my career." And so I was booking in 30-minute slots to speak to people about what they're doing in their careers. And it quickly became apparent that actually people really wanted to hear about how I've progressed as a Black woman in the corporate world. So then I took a coaching course to really make sure that I was really validating what I was saying to my clients. And then I started coaching. And I actually found that I really loved it. I loved speaking to Black women about their careers, where they are and what they're doing. And so that, I did that for a few years, and I really, really enjoyed that. And then the business went through another transition because as I became a more established diversity and inclusion professional, people wanted to hear from me about how they can build diversity and inclusion into their business. People wanted to hear about how I have navigated being a Black woman in the corporate world. They wanted to hear about the experiences of black hair, microaggressions, imposter syndrome. And so therefore, I started to join panels and join roundtables and give keynotes on really what it means to be a diversity and inclusion professional in the corporate world. So it's evolved over the time, and it's been great, and I'm really enjoying it, and it feels like it's still evolving. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So if you start from the beginning, tell us about Hannah as a child and how you transitioned to be a professional woman.
Yeah, absolutely. So ironically, I've always wanted to work in the bank. So when I was younger, my parents live in London Bridge, and so I'd always see like the city people going to and from work. And so the first thing is I knew I wanted to wear a suit to work, so that was definitely something. But then I always knew that actually banking, like when my mum used to take me to the banks and stuff like that, it felt like somewhere that I would want to work. And so when I became of working age, which was 16, I actually decided to apply to work at the Halifax. So bearing in mind actually that my circumstances at that time were very different. And so I was living independently, so I had to kind of fend for myself. So it was really a matter of finding a job that would help me kind of pay my way. And so I joined the Halifax when I was 16 as a cashier. And I realised that actually, I do like working in banking. I love the customer interaction. And so 1 year later, I moved into the organisation that I'm working in now, which is another Big Four financial institution. And I've been there ever since. 17 years I've kind of developed in my career. I didn't go to college, I didn't go to uni, but I was able to get my employer to sponsor me to go to do my degree. So I spent 4 years in the organisation before I went to do my degree, and then I did a degree in management and leadership. And since doing my degree, I've worked in leadership roles, I've led teams, area management, and to the point where I am here today.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk about all the roles that you currently have. There's Rarity London, which, how would you sum up that role?
So Rarity London for me now today is about using my voice as a speaker to really help organizations and individuals understand more about what it means to have an inclusive culture and build equity and inclusion into society.
Great. And then this is a bit of a mouthful, Global Head of Colleague Engagement, Diversity and Inclusion within the financial sector.
I've always known that actually I really enjoy colleague. I enjoy supporting the development of our colleagues. And so for me, this role was really pivotal in my career because it allowed me to express my passion for diversity and inclusion whilst amplifying the voices of our diverse workforce. So I see myself as the colleague voice. I amplify their voice, I showcase their voice through communications and campaigns, whilst helping embed and implement a global strategy.
And then you're also a school governor, is that correct?
Yes, I am. So after the murder of George Floyd, I realised that actually I wanted to do more. I wanted to be able to have impact and influence on our younger generation. And so I was actually approached by my old secondary school to come back and be a governor. And so I assessed my skills and said to them, I'd love to come back, but I would only want to come back if I was able to really lead your diversity and inclusion strategy. And at the time, the principal was, she was really, really bought into this. And so I've worked on their hair policy. I've worked on their uniform policy. I've helped them with introducing safe spaces for students through making sure that feedback can be given anonymously. We've talked about the Catholic school ethos and LGBT and how that works and what that means for the Catholic school. And so I've really been able to lend my voice and my expertise to some really quite tricky subjects within the college. And so I've really, really enjoyed that.
Mm. And then you run a project called Meet My Future Self. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so when people often ask me, like, what are some of the challenges that I faced in the workplace as I've kind of built my career? Well, the first thing I always say is that I just didn't see women who looked like me. And so for a long time, that was a limiting belief that actually maybe I can't be senior. If there's no one there that's already done it, maybe I can't be a senior professional within banking or the financial services. So as I've progressed in my career and been afforded some amazing opportunities, I wanted to really challenge that narrative. So in 2021, I set up an initiative called Meet My Future Self, which is focused on changing the narrative of I don't see women who look like me for 13 to 14 year 10 schoolgirls. It's an opportunity for the schools, the young women to see women who do look like them, that have come from their background, who are now successful in their own rights within their industries. It's been really impactful, and I've been able to showcase some amazing Black women and other women, ethnically diverse women, and really, really shine a light on the fact that your beginning is not your end. And so, as you progress in life, your choices, your opportunities can, afford you some great opportunities in the future.
And I'd say arguably the most important role that you have is being a wife and a mother.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I am a wife. I've been married for nearly 11 years. And I'm also a mum of 3. I have a full-grown teenager, he's 14. I have my middle son, who's 10, and then my daughter, Aurora, who's 3. So being a mother and being a working corporate mother, I would say, is amazing. It's great. I feel like I'm able to really change the course of my children's life, give them things that I never had. But it's also really tough. And sometimes I have to make some tough decisions about what gets prioritized when. Also, my daughter, she requires special care, which means that I have to add in and factor in hospital appointments and kind of extra care for my daughter. And so, yeah, it's something that for me is a juggle, but it's a joy. And so, like anything, you plan and you prepare and you kind of enjoy the ride as you go along.
Mm. I saw a quote online that you said, "I'd rather you embrace me for my differences." So, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think we are all different. We're all unique. And so for me, in the corporate world, for many years, I had to almost change, conform to what was deemed as professional. And so once I started to learn more about who I am and what I stand for, I realized that actually everything that makes me who I am is actually what I bring to the table. And so, in some senses, being a Black woman who comes from a lower socioeconomic background, who has 3 children, who's dyslexic, who has a story, actually adds to the woman that I am today. And so, I show up as me, and I want people to embrace that.
Wow. I guess you also strike me as a woman that's very resilient. So tell us where that resilience and confidence stems from.
I think I've always had to be resilient. So I've been living independently since I was 14, 15 years old. And so always had to make some really tough decisions, and always had to think about what is right for me, what is going to elevate me, what are the things I need to do to get to where I need to get to. And so, as I've built my career, I've mentioned some things about not seeing women who look like me, being labelled as overconfident, overpassionate. All of them things has really kind of helped to refine the woman that I am today. And so, yeah, I think my resilience comes from the setbacks, the knockbacks, but also the pick-me-ups and the keep-goings. And so, yeah, I think resilience is built. And so, yeah, for me, it's something that is continuing to build. Often when I tell people about my career, they're like, wow, you've done so much, you're so amazing. And they don't know that actually there's a lot of sacrifice that have come with that. They might not know about the setbacks and the no's, and, all of the other things that come with it. So, yeah, resilience is just part of who I am, and actually it makes me who I am as well.
I just wanted to touch upon something you said, because I moved out of home when I was 18, which was quite young, but you mentioned you moved out home when you were 13, 14?
14, 15, yeah, 14, around 15, I'd say 15. Yeah.
Okay, would you mind going into the surroundings of that?
So we haven't touched on my heritage, but my parents are Nigerian,
right.
And so I'm British, born Nigerian. And so I think back then, it was what I describe as the battle of the cultures. So, my mom's a very strict Nigerian woman, who had very traditional values, bringing up a South London Bermondsey girl. And so there was natural conflict. And I think that, if we think about the generations before us, I'm not sure that they truly embraced dialogue and conversation and talking and communicating with their children. And so that was a real challenge for us. And so due to circumstance, I did find myself homeless at 15. And I had to navigate that, and I did, and it was fine. And I always knew that I wanted to stay on like the right side of life, and I knew that I wanted a career, I wanted to develop. I've always known I wanted to be somebody, and so my circumstance did not define me. I always say I was, my first job interview at the Halifax, I rocked up in a hooded jacket and a pair of jeans. And thank God for growth, right? And I didn't know no different. I had no one to tell me, so I just thought, oh, I've got this interview at the Halifax, and put my best brown hooded jacket on that had fur around the ribs. But you know what? The woman who interviewed me was able to look beyond what she could see and listen to what I was saying. And so as a leader, I've been a leader for nearly 12 years now, I always look beyond what I see.
Right.
And so, I was living, when I went for that interview, I was in a hostel, living in a hostel. But, I thank God that, God was with me, and I've been able to develop myself. And now I have 3 amazing children. I'm married. senior professional within the organisation, well regarded as a diversity and inclusion professional. And so, the message I say to my young girls is that your beginning does not define your end, and actually it's all in you to achieve what you want.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an incredible story and transition, and it's even more incredible that you're reaching back and you're helping the next generation. Because I too grew up in a West African household, and there is, with me, my conflict was with my dad. So 2 alpha males. I fully understand your backstory. So you're Nigerian.
Yeah.
Which particular tribe are you from?
So we're Yoruba.
Okay.
And from Ogun State.
Okay. So you've been back quite recently?
Not recently, actually, but I have been to Nigeria a few times, but when I was a bit younger,
Would you ever retire there?
No, if I'm honest, I wouldn't. I definitely think that I want to get closer to my culture, but I don't see myself living there or retiring there. For various different reasons.
Okay. Do you guys cook the food at home? Do you speak the language to the kids?
Yeah. So my husband was born there, and so he, he definitely carries the culture in our family, which is great. So he's an awesome cook, and I'm not afraid to say that as a woman. And so. He introduces, that part of our culture into our kids and into us, and so it's a really lovely balance. Actually, can be tough and challenging sometimes because our culture is very different. It's quite a forceful culture, in my opinion, and so I sometimes even see that in myself, and I have to kind of rein myself back in and remember what were some of the things that I didn't want when I was growing up, to help me with my teenage boy, or to help me in my marriage. So there's been a lot of unlearning, and growth, I would say.
I mean, you say that there was it forceful? You used the term forceful. Like what? Because I've got quite a few Nigerian friends, and what I admire about them is that they see it as their right to have something. It's not I'm asking for it. I'm going out and this is mine, and that's for me such a positive because you're non-apologetic about you don't have to be coy. It's just pure unadulterated confidence. And I guess we want it in our kids as well. So thinking about your career goals, everyone kind of wants to quote unquote make it, but according to Hannah, what does the term make it look like to you?
Yeah, so I wouldn't be a career coach if I didn't have a career plan. So I'm quite clear on my plan and my trajectory in terms of my career. I really enjoy what I'm doing at the moment. I do see myself doing that for another few years to kind of help me shape and build and give me the depth that I need. Ultimately, I want to become a chief diversity officer in a large corporate. So a large corporate like I am in today, leading their global strategy for diversity and inclusion. I think that is definitely within my 5-year plan. And then actually, I have a lot of senior women around me, and so I get the benefit of being able to see the future through them. And I do think that as I progress, I will build a portfolio career. So I'm kind of dabbling in it a little bit now with my governorship and the other stuff I do. But I think I'd love to get my chief diversity officer role in a big 4. That's definitely something that is on my plan for the next 5 years. And then beyond that, it's about thinking about how do I have impact in a way that has scale, but also in multiple ways. And so building a portfolio career as a non-executive director is something that really entices me. And so my 10 years, I see myself not really working for one large corporate, but actually sitting on many boards and influencing change from a strategic level.
I mean, that certainly sounds like a track of getting an MBE, OBE type thing. So yeah,
watch out.
So tell us one thing that looks easy from outside, but it's incredibly hard for you to carry out in terms of your role.
Yeah. I often feel that my whole journey looks easy.
Right.
When I speak to people, often I'm sharing my career journey in a 10-minute slot,
Okay.
right? So I'm sharing my career journey, and it sounds amazing, and it sounds like it was great. And so actually building a career is really hard. It takes strategy. You absolutely need to see your career as a business plan. I am the CEO of Hannah Limited, and so I am very intentional about the moves that I make. I review my skill set constantly. I am very dedicated to my personal brand. I'm very dedicated to my professional voice. And so from the outside, I'm doing so much. I'm on panels. I'm delivering this piece of work. I'm leading this initiative, and it looks really easy. But actually, it is really hard, and it takes a lot of intention. And so, if I think about the last 3 years and building a voice on LinkedIn, for instance, it takes intention. I write posts every Sunday. I sit down, I write my posts, I plan my posts, and so I engage. I have meetings. So that would be my biggest thing. From the outside, developing a career, running a business, having 3 children, being married. It's like, oh my God, you got it all. But actually, it's really hard.
Yeah,
it is really hard.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't a popular opinion, especially coming from an African man. But I think that women, especially in a married household with kids, they take on the majority of the responsibility. And I say that observing like my wife in our household, because I work hard. And as much as I would want to say that it's 50-50, I think it's slightly edged towards my wife. So in terms of the responsibility as a mum, as a wife, your roles professionally, what do you do like to just kind of chill out?
So firstly, I would say that my husband is very hands-on. So he does the cooking, and he loves it, and I love it. And he's very hands-on with the kids as well. So, I do think we have a good balance. Sometimes it tips to his side and he's doing more. Sometimes it tips to my side and I'm doing more. And we've had to learn that. And so, I wouldn't say it's 50-50, but sometimes it's 60-40 his side. Sometimes it's 60-40 my side. What I do for downtime is a very good question. I think I've really struggled because my downtime is my work time. Like, I embody myself in D&I. I enjoy it. So I will finish my career job and I will go on and engage in diversity and inclusion conversations online. And I will, join panels, and I will go to events centered around D&I. And so that's been really tough because it's like I can't switch off, and so I'm starting to think about how do I carve out something that isn't to do with anything that's related to my professional life. And I'm still trying to work out what that is. But, I really enjoy my job. I really enjoy the things that I do. And so because of that, it can feel quite all-consuming sometimes. And so I'm definitely trying to find the balance. I would say that having a daughter that I prayed for years, is like God's answer. They say, God gives daughters to become best friends. And I truly believe that. So now, she forces me to go swimming every Saturday. And so I go swimming with her every Saturday. And so that's now our little thing. And so I see more of that happening. I take her to the theatre, and she comes with me to do my nails and stuff. And so I know she's only 3. But I see, sometimes when you don't slow down, God slows you down. And I feel like with Aurora, He's done that with me.
I mean, since COVID, for our household, we slowed down a lot of things because we found it before we were just going like back and forth, and it was a relentless cycle. So we implemented certain things to ease that burden. So are there any things that since lockdown that you've adapted in your home and work life?
I definitely feel that being able to work from home
Mm.
has been a real blessing. So I've always worked from home 2 days a week for the last 10 years, but actually being able to work from home full time, work from home 3 days, 4 days a week, has really allowed me to kind of rebalance my home life.
Sure.
I love the autonomy that I have. You know, nobody, often you hear some quite negative things about working in the corporate world. You have to ask to go to the toilet, you have to ask for holiday and stuff like that. And actually, at my level, I don't need to do any of that. And so I do have the flexibility and the freedom to really have a life and a work life. And so that has been really beneficial for me and my kids as well, because it just means that actually if they've got something that they want to do, or if I have to go to the hospital, if I have to go, take one person to football and then another one to karate, that actually I can do them things. Whereas before, it was very difficult to be able to do that. So I think there's some of the things that I'm learning, but it's not easy. I haven't got it right. Sometimes I feel like I am failing as a mum. Example this morning when all the kids had to get dressed in pink and go to school in pink today, and I rocked up in uniform. It was fine. We went back home and we changed, but little things like that, sometimes it's like, Hannah, but I'm only human, and it was okay. It was fine. I'm learning to be able to get over things quickly.
Yeah.
So rather than beating myself up, it's like, no, it's fine. Wear pink. We got the pink. Let's go. So yeah.
So growing up, I guess it's going to be growing up and even now, was there anybody that really inspired you to pursue your choice of career, or just pursue the way you are as an individual?
Whenever I get this question, I always feel compelled to give this really heartfelt story. But I don't actually have a heartfelt story. I knew that I wanted to be successful. I knew that I didn't want to be a product of my circumstance. And so I pushed through. There are women now that are around me, some awesome women in the corporate space, awesome women who are just being unapologetic. And I think that has really inspired me to see women who are just unapologetic about who they are. I am an avid follower of Bizoma St. John from former Netflix. And just how she carries herself, she's unapologetic. This is who she is. This is what she's going to do. And so, sometimes being in the corporate world and being a senior Black woman, it's very lonely. And you hold the burden of wanting to make inclusion, wanting to make the corporate world inclusive for all Black professionals in your organisation. And that can be tough. And so, when you look at women like Bizoma and others, and you see that they are just standing in their power, you realise that you also have to do the same. And so I'm learning more about standing in my power, speaking my truth, and helping others to do the same without having the burden of it's my responsibility to solve it for everyone, because it is not. Yeah.
Right. Cool. So tell us about the most inspiring project you feel that you've worked on in your career.
I will have to say that Meet My Future Self, for me, is just a dream come true, because I was that girl in terms of, looking ahead and not knowing what's going to be in front of me. And so to be able to go back to the school, see the young girls, they asking me questions, just being able to outpour, my experience and knowledge has been really transformational for me. And also I just see it growing. I see more schools sign up. I see opportunities to, bring the girls into different corporate spaces and to really, showcase all of their possibilities.
Cool. And think about the future. What will the world, what will the viewers expect to see from Hannah?
So I think what you can expect to see from me is just a consistent beating of the drum around inclusion and equity, especially for Black women. So, I want to do more to help Black women. I want to do more to amplify the voices of Black women across industries. I want to do more to work with organisations to really see the value of Black women in the workplace. And so, through Meet My Future Self, through my speaking and through my day job and my corporate job, I really hope to do that in many different ways.
Right. And Hannah, what key piece of advice would you give to other women like yourself?
So one of the biggest things that I have learned over the last 3 years is the importance of my voice and my visibility. So the fact that I have an opinion, I want to say something, I've had experiences that other women have had, and share that has really supported and helped other women. But it's also really helped me in my career, in my professional career. People now recognize me as a thought leader in D&I because I'm consistent around my voice. And so I would say that visibility is really important. Who are you? What do you want to stand for? And how do you get your message out there? And so, using platforms like LinkedIn can really help you to amplify your voice, to reposition yourself as a brand, and to go after the career that you want. So that's what I would advise. So.
Oh wow! So we're just going to end up with 10 kind of A or B type questions. So just give me your first based on preference. Audi or Mercedes?
Mercedes.
Coming to America 1 or Coming to America 2?
Coming to America 1.
Okay. How about Britney or Beyonce?
Beyonce.
Really? Okay. Are you iPhone or Android?
I'm Android.
Right. Lifetime supply of makeup or lifetime supply of hair products?
Lifetime supply of makeup.
Right. R&B or Afrobeats?
R&B.
A well-paid job in a toxic work environment or a low-paid job and it just feels like heaven every day?
A high-paid job in a toxic environment because I can change the culture.
That's slick. How about this? Fish and chips or jollof rice and stew?
Jollof rice and stew.
Okay. The Apprentice or Dragon's Den?
The Apprentice.
Romantic trip to Paris or holiday Maldives?
Holiday in Maldives.
All right, last one. Heels or trainers?
Heels, every day, all day.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Hannah. It's been great, speaking to you and hearing about your story. Yeah. And we'll include all of your links in the description below.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.